What's up, everybody? Welcome into
Oh,
your NFL Pregame Show. Let's get Sterls in. I don't know why it's not working, but I'm here. He's here. I know he's here. I can see him. You know, so I know he's here, but got to make sure he's here. You know what I mean? There we go. Sterls is in. What's good? Sterls for the girls, hanging out. After a whole lot of you talked a whole lot of shit last week um, about a whole lot of stuff, to be honest. I mean, but his Michigan Wolverines were one of them.
yeah. Once again,
So I just want to give you a second here to gloat before we talk about the practicalities of the CFP and what that means to everybody. But we welcome in Sterls for the girls. Go ahead. The floor is yours, sir.
I don't even have too much to say at this point.
Okay.
And I know that's crazy for
Yeah.
me to even utter that.
Yeah, that is. That's weird.
Today is the day I'm just sitting back, drinking my tea like Kermit the Frog, and waiting for Milkman to bring his beautiful face in here and tell me that Michigan once again are back to back Big Ten champions, and it feels great. Yeah, just like that. Perfect form, by the way.
All right. All right, I got to get back out of that position with my chair now. All right, let's talk CFP a little bit here because I find it very interesting. You have a very uncomfortable precedent to set. And mental health guy checking in. Appreciate you jumping in. Are we really going to waste the playoff spot on FSU? Well, let's lay it out here, mental health guy, because the committee almost has to betray something in order to get 4 teams in. They either have to betray that conference championships matter, they have to betray that head-to-heads matter, they have to betray their own rankings, or they have to betray that your record matters. And the last one is what you're talking about, mental health guy. We're really going to waste a spot on FSU. Well, guess what? They are an undefeated Power 5 conference champion. What are we doing here? Right? I mean, what are we doing here? Now, you want to say they take injuries into account. Okay, that's fine. If you let FSU be out of the mix, you're still then even in a situation where you're going to betray something. Because Georgia was number 1 in their rankings. And a 3-point loss to a team that's going to probably end up being number 4 in their rankings should not drop them 4 spots to number 5 and out of the playoff. It just shouldn't.
It should though, because they lost to a number. They lost to a number 8 Alabama.
No. So then, are you saying conference championships matter?
Conference championships matter.
Well, then put in
It matters.
FSU. Then you got to put
That's
in.
what I'm saying.
You got to put in FSU, and then it's like, does you can't? In my opinion, you cannot put Bama in and not put in Texas. Can't do it. So if you want to sit FSU because of that, I get that to a certain extent. You've got 2 one-loss conference champions that played each other, but you can't put Bama in without putting Texas in my opinion. And you can't put Georgia in without putting Bama in. And so who's the team that gets left out in this carousel? Georgia. But then you're betraying your own rankings that you've made. You made Georgia number 1 in your rankings. They lost by 3 points in a title game. You know what I mean? Like, how can you leave them out? So the committee is up against it right now. They really are in a tough spot. And I've kind of set the whole thing up furlough.
There's not an SEC team that deserves to be in the playoff this year.
Okay. So this is what I was saying on the stream yesterday. SEC could get left out altogether. You think they should?
Yeah, I think they should. I mean, look, when you look at the strength of schedule, both Georgia right? Georgia had a really weak strength of schedule, so the least you could do is just win all your games, beat Alabama like you're supposed to, and then when you look at Alabama, they just haven't passed the eye test necessarily, but they lost to Texas. So I think that Florida State and Texas deserves to be in.
And
they deserve to be in.
Hurricane 2K7 comes in. First time chat, by the way. Appreciate you. Thanks for jumping in. An SEC team is still getting in, but Texas has to be in before Bama. So I guess Hurricane's saying that they're going Michigan, Washington, which, by the way, we're just assuming Michigan, Washington in all these conversations. Michigan, Washington, Texas, Bama would be your 4 in that scenario.
That's the best 4.
The gap between the SEC and the rest of college football has closed. It's not as big as it was in years past. But, Sterles, you got to be completely honest here. The SEC is still the best conference in college football.
Yeah, it's still the best conference in college football.
So then how do you not have an SEC team in the playoff?
Because when you schedule Citadel, UT Chattanooga as your non-conference opponents, I think that's what's going to keep you out. And let's be real.
Hold on, but Bama didn't. And that's what you're counting against them right now.
Right. Bama didn't. So if anything, and on an outside shot, even though Bama's the SEC champion, I'll be okay with Bama in. But if Bama's in, then Texas is in. So then are we just going to shit on Florida State? That's the thing.
You have to. You have to.
For where, if these Power 5 conferences, so then I guess being a conference champion doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Right?
I think you can get away with leaving Florida State out and saying, listen, we told you we take injuries into account. This is a quarterback injury. It's as big as it gets. And you're not the same team, and they weren't. I mean, if you watched that game yesterday, they weren't the same team.
No, they're not the same team. And it's unfortunate that FSU is even in this predicament.
Yes. You feel bad for the Seminoles.
You do, man. Because those kids, like, at the end of the day, those kids out there playing their hearts out, man. And, like, even though, if you talk to Florida State players, they're going to tell you, we still think we can win this thing, right? So you're going to crush those kids at the end of the day because you want, fans to travel and have these schools that get in that are going to bring more revenue. And that's what it's about. It's not about the best 4. It's about the most money you can generate. Let's be real.
And it's because of a hip drop tackle. Let's be real about that, right?
Exactly.
That's where you are right now. Hurricane 2K7 says they're going to hold Jordan Travis injury against FSU. I agree. I think Florida State, but I wanted Florida State to win yesterday, so the committee actually had to do it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like put the committee in a situation to put its money where its mouth is, and have to don't give them an easy out by letting Florida State lose. So I'm glad they won last night. Winning the SEC is more impressive than winning the ACC. Bama, UGA would both wash FSU. I don't know. I mean, listen, LSU is the 14th ranked team in the league now, or in the nation now. FSU beat them. So I don't know that they would wash them. But I think they would both probably beat FSU if we had Jordan Travis in there.
Yeah. They would beat them.
So, but to me, it's like you can't take a team out because you think they could probably lose the game. I don't think
an undefeated champion at that. That's where it gets like a little like hinky, a little messed up because they are the ACC champion. So if Clemson, if this was Clemson, would they be in this predicament? Nope. Let's talk about that. If Clemson was FSU, would Clemson be in the Final Four?
Come
on, be real.
I think you would have to answer the same question about the injury. I really do.
I don't think that. I think if from a committee point of view, regardless of the injury, Clemson will be in, and there will be no debate.
I know what
because Clemson, Dabo, they're the undefeated champion. Clemson's in. But because it's Florida State,
I don't know if I agree with it. I don't know if I agree with it.
That's fine. But you know I'm right. I don't care if you agree with it. You know I'm right.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if you're right.
It's just messed up, man. I feel bad for those kids at Florida State.
100%.
And not because I want Michigan to play them. Yeah, I feel bad for them, man.
Yeah,
that's fucked up.
Let's address what mental health guy is saying here. Homie wants FSU to get in so Michigan can have a bye in the semifinal.
As a former athlete, man, it's just put yourself in Florida State shoes. Take the fandom out of it. Take the Michigan out of it. Put yourself in their shoes. You would feel a certain type of way.
And this isn't NFL where it's like, hey man, we still have a really good team next year. We'll come back and we'll make that run that we were supposed to make this year. It's not how college football works, dude. This is a place and a time. This is a moment, and once you lose it, it's gone. And so, yeah, I feel you. I feel bad for those kids.
And on Michigan, real quick, I'll be honest. I don't think Michigan has the passing offense to keep up in the college football playoff. They have some deficiencies at wide receiver, and I just don't. So, like, I'm not even sitting here saying Michigan's going to win the whole thing. I have some concerns about Michigan in the passing offense, and not at quarterback. It's at the wide receiver position. So I don't think, even if Michigan ends up being number one, I don't care who the number 4 team is. They're going to have problems. I mean, their defense is good. They can run the ball. But in the college football playoff, you got to be able to sling it with the best of them, and you need playmakers on the outside. Michigan doesn't have that.
Well, that's the thing that kind of shocks me about Michigan. They could. Like, J.J. McCarthy is a good enough quarterback that they could have the passing offense that they need to compete. And
it's not J.J.
Instead, they schedule the Citadel and decide to run the ball 500 times. And, if you had chose to run not even pro style. I mean,
they run a pro style offense.
Yeah, that's right. If you chose to run a more passing centric offense, you might have found a couple wide receivers that you think can do the job.
Good point. That's a very good point.
I mean? And now instead, on the very last minute, if you need a passing offense, you're going to be like, well, let's give it a try. Whereas if you had been doing it all year, maybe you'd be in a different position.
You now have to empty the clip. So you're going to have to go do things that you're not comfortable doing from a wide receiver perspective when you could have been running. I like the pro style approach, but you got to mix in some of the spread principles and getting these guys open in space. I mean, you got the quarter. I mean, JJ has been making NFL throws all season long. If you guys been watching, in my opinion, he is a first-round talent quarterback.
But with no pressure to do so.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they never needed him to do it, and so I don't know.
They put themselves in a predicament with this.
Hurricane 2K7 points out SEC matchups against Power 5 schools this year, they are 7-9. And we saw a lot of that at the beginning of the season. But a lot of teams staked their claim against SEC teams this year. And that's what, Strohs and I talked about it back in September, that the SEC just isn't the same as it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And that's because
of NIL.
Right. That's because 15 years ago, they were still paying people and other schools weren't.
Yep.
And now you can, Matt Rule, and he's not my favorite guy, but did you see him come out yesterday? Did you see what he said?
Yeah. About having a $2 million quarterback.
Yep. He's like, listen, it's very nice y'all want me to go get a quarterback, and I can. Give me $2 million. Give me $2 million and I can go recruit a quarterback who will make a difference right now. But you got to know what the cost of doing business is. You know what I mean?
And the SEC's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
4 years. That's considered cheating. Cam Newton, did you see what Cam Newton came out and said last week?
No. I saw him admit that he couldn't read defenses. Did you see that?
Okay, so man said, he goes, They go, where was your favorite recruiting visit? Man said Mississippi State. Why didn't you go to Mississippi State? They couldn't pay. They couldn't pay the money. Auburn did.
To be honest, they probably offered what you and I would consider a large chunk of money.
Right.
But they could pay. They just couldn't pay as much as the boosters at Auburn could.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And there you go. And that's been going on for years. For years.
So Hurricane brings up the 8-team playoff. And I don't think it's 8. I think it's 12, isn't it?
12.
Yeah, it's 12. Because so when it's 12, top 4 seeds are going to get a bye, right?
Correct.
You will still have this argument of what matters along the way. And the reason that I say that is because, like, what if Iowa had won last night?
Michigan's out.
Of the 4 team, but not of the 12 team.
Right.
So if we're talking just hypothetically here, if we're talking about the 12-team playoff, Bama and Georgia both are in. That's easy. Oregon and Washington both in. That's easy, right? But what if Louisville wins last night? What if Iowa wins last night? Those are 2 teams that are ranked outside the top 12. Now, I believe what they're going to do is give automatic bids to conference champions.
They have to. Yep.
Do they have to? Because did you watch that Iowa game last night, my guy?
But if they were to win that game, they're the Big Ten champion. It's just like in college basketball. When you have these conference tournaments, right? And let's say Duke gets knocked out and Boston College wins. Well, Boston College is your ACC champion, folks.
So Hurricanes
get automatic bid,
saying yes, they have to go to automatic bids. I
think each Power 5 conference gets 1 championship bid, and I think they get it at large. Right?
Power 4.
Power 4. So 1 champion and an at-large bid.
I don't think you automatically assign that they get an at-large bid, and I don't know if listen. So what are you telling me? You would give them a home
Big
game
10,
in the first
SEC,
round?
Big 10 and SEC. Tell me of those 2 conferences, because now they're both loaded, and they're all going to be playing against each other. So you mean to tell me the second best team for the at-large isn't deserving?
I mean, that's the argument that you make in the committee room, but I don't give them a freebie.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for some of like Notre Dame and some of these other teams that aren't. It's gonna be tough for the Cinderella. You're gonna have to be
I think
undefeated.
it's gonna get easier for the Cinderella, because I think there's gonna be 4 spots there for them, and they have said that they're gonna give an automatic bid to the group of 5 school that has the highest ranking. So,
you're missing one piece. You're missing a piece. You want to know what it is?
Go ahead.
When has the committee, the NCAA, ever done what was best for the school? They do what's best for the ratings.
But that's, if
you see what I'm saying?
If we get away from the NCAA, which is what everybody's advocating right now, and I do not like the NCAA, but I'm not so quick to think that's a good idea. What the hell do you think they're getting away from the NCAA for? Because that is exactly what's going to happen. They're not doing it for the schools. They're doing it for the ratings. Which, it's not – what's interesting about this little college football playoff debate for this year that we're having is none of these schools hurt your ratings, right? Georgia, Bama, FSU, Texas. You put any of them in, and that's a powerhouse school that you're putting in there.
Right.
So it's not like you've got a Cincinnati in there who can get left out. You know what I mean? And you can kind of be like, oh, follow the money, blah, blah, blah. But it's interesting. T-Rex hops in. What up, fellas? Appreciate you jumping in, saying what's up. Doing a little college football before we get to our NFL picks. Mental health guy. To be honest, I don't really like the expansion of the CFP. We legitimately don't have 4 potential national championship quality teams every year. 4 teams are good for me. This year we have an anomaly that won't continue, in my opinion. No, I don't think those. You're still thinking in a bowl mentality, which is 2 teams play for a national title. I'm not saying the 7th team is national championship quality. I am saying I don't mind telling a national championship team to beat them. I don't mind doing it. Prove it. And when I first started doing this exercise, Andrew Luck was at Stanford. And every year Stanford would end up like 7th or 6th and not get in. And I just thought to myself, like, give me Andrew Luck versus Bama and just, like, let's see what happens. Because there's no doubt. I mean, the one that comes to mind for me is 13 seconds. But playoff games make history, man. Like, playoff games make legacies.
Yeah.
The Rams won the Super Bowl that year. But nobody remembers that game. The game that people remember from that playoff, and 20 years from now that people will remember from that playoff, is Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes launching nukes at each other. You know what I mean? Like, that is where history is made. Neither of those teams even played in the Super Bowl. So I don't mind saying to a national championship quality team, you got to prove it.
Yeah,
and let's put them in a playoff and decide it like every other level of the sport, by the way. In high school, it's high school football playoffs. In every other division in college, it's playoffs, except for the top division, which now it will be. And in the pros, it's playoffs. That's how we decide it on the field. That's how it's done in football. So I don't mind them going to a 12-team playoff. Any thoughts on that?
No, I think you're right. I think 12-team playoff is great for the sport, to be honest. And you know what it does? What it makes me happy about this is that you're gonna have teams and conferences that aren't gonna be able to schedule these cupcake games. I'm putting Michigan in there as well, right? You don't have to play Bowling Green, Coastal Carolina, right? Teams like that. You're going to be playing. I mean, just your conference slate alone is going to be, for Michigan, it's going to be USC, Washington, Oregon, right? Ohio State, Penn. I mean, and the SEC, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, like these conferences are going to be very tough. So you're taking the best schools and you're pitting them against each other each and every week. So the best team win.
So Mental Health Guy says, and we'll wrap on this here soon and move to NFL, but Mental Health Guy says, so should Alabama play Missouri after winning the SEC championships in the playoff in the new format? Well, listen, your top 4 teams are going to get a bye. That's why I think 12 is smarter than 8. You give your top 4 teams a free bye into the second round. That's what you earn by going undefeated, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. By being 12-0. We don't obviously have the rankings for this week. They come out in about a half hour. So let's look at the rankings from last week and talk about what these games would be like. Okay? Right now, from last week, Oregon was ranked number 5. They would be playing in the first round of the playoff, right? Because your top 4 teams all get byes. So Oregon was ranked number 5. Number 12, Oklahoma. Oregon versus Oklahoma.
That's a great game.
I mean, I'm sitting down with my popcorn for that one. That's probably 100 points scored in that game, and I'm about
it. Who's Ohio State playing?
Ohio State's playing Ole Miss.
You talk about points? Oh, my God. Dude, that would be such a fun game to watch. Now, talking about this makes me excited.
Now, you want to talk about a prove-it game?
Yeah.
Texas versus Penn State.
Hey, Penn State, man, they got pass rushers. They are tough on defense.
And listen, Penn State every year has to go through both Ohio State and Michigan, and they can't do it. But here you go. Here's an entry into the playoff. You won 10 other games this year. You've earned your right to at least play for a title game to try to get back to their level. And Texas, who is in the Big 12, had one win against an SEC school, and that's what everybody's dogging them for, that, they lost to Oklahoma, and their only good win is Alabama. Well, good. Put them against Penn State. And if they can do the same thing Michigan and Ohio State did to them, they belong.
And I have a problem with that because, and I'm going to give Alabama some credit here. Nick Saban's the best coach in college football, for one. But let's be real. Texas beat Alabama very early in the season. If Texas and Alabama played right now, Alabama mops the floor with them. I'm telling you right now. Jalen Milroe has shown
that he
so
pissed
much
down his leg in the
since
first
week
half
2.
yesterday.
Dude, you pissed down your leg facing that defense. Georgia's a good defense, and they're familiar with each other. Stop it.
I ain't blaming him. I'm just saying the moment was a little bit too big for him in the first quarter yesterday. He came around.
Kirby Smart and Nick Saban know each other's game plans back and to and fro, back and forth.
That's true.
Jalen Milroe has improved a ton this season. That's the point I'm making. Texas and Alabama is not the same team when they play Texas week 2. That's the only point I'm making.
And Saban deserves a ton of credit for that. I mean,
absolutely.
Talk about the GOAT with a little bit of respect as a tinge in your voice, So mental health guy, then we get to your game, which is Alabama and Missouri, and that wouldn't even be the game because Alabama probably would be elevated to a top 4 slot.
Right.
But yeah, if Alabama has to play Missouri, that is the ultimate Cinderella story versus somebody who feels like, hey, we belong here, and we had an unfortunate loss. We had an unfortunate loss at some point during the season. And so now I've got to beat a Cinderella team to make it into the next round of the playoffs. And then, you win 3 games and you win a title. So, yeah, I mean, I'm totally good with the playoff. And that even includes, Alabama having to play more SEC teams to get there. You know what I mean? So,
but you still haven't told me who you put in the Final Four.
Bama and Texas.
Okay, so you go Michigan, Washington, Bama, Texas.
Yeah, and I personally, I think head-to-heads have to matter. Otherwise, teams won't schedule them.
Yep.
And you're going to get what Michigan had this year.
That's fair.
I don't want to see that during the regular season. What I want to see during the regular season is Texas, Bama, in Tuscaloosa. So
no, take the bass out of your voice when we talk about Michigan because they beat Ohio State, they beat Penn State, they beat Iowa.
They didn't.
And those are highly ranked teams.
Hold on, they didn't schedule those. I'm talking about
that's on their schedule. It's on their schedule.
I'm talking
then throw
about
Georgia in there. Georgia's the same way.
Hear me out. Let me finish. I'm talking about encouraging teams to schedule in the non-conference matchups that I want to watch. And East Carolina and Bowling Green weren't it. So that's why I'm talking about Michigan. Now, Michigan did it because of the format that we have right now. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. But what I am saying is I want to encourage those teams to schedule each other. And one way that you do it is you put the 2 teams that played each other both in. You put Bama and Texas both in, and you say you're not going to be penalized for trying to bring relevance and excitement to the regular season of college football. Those games that you're talking about from Michigan, they didn't schedule them. They were already scheduled. They were scheduled.
But you're screwed. You're screwed now because, the Big Ten and the SEC, which are going to be 2 of the biggest most competitive leagues moving forward, they're going to be playing, marquee matchups each and every week now. So that argument is off the table in this new era. It is. Look at the conference. I'll pull up Michigan's schedule and I'll tell you what.
Let's talk about your Big Ten.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about your Big Ten. We need to get to the NFL, but don't tell me they're playing.
We don't have to get to the NFL. We could talk about these bets and move on
until your conference starts purging teams like Northwestern, Indiana, and Illinois that are perennial shit shows. And the only reason that they are still in the conference is because they were there to start off with. until
Okay.
they start purging those, you cannot
Let
say
me
to
bust
me
your bubble.
they're about
Let
to
me
start,
bust your bubble.
They're about to start playing tough schedules every week.
Take a seat. Take a seat. You ready for this? This is Michigan's schedule. Hold on. This is Michigan's schedule next year for all the Michigan's not playing anybody. Okay? I'm going to go game by game on their schedule next week. Are you ready?
Before you do, you have to make the point that their schedule is changing in what year?
24 next year.
The year that the college football playoff switches to 12 teams.
It doesn't that's the point. But look, because my point was things are going to be different. And you're like, "No, I'm telling you." So let me give you an example of why it's going to be different. So like why, some of your non-conference games, you're not going to have to put marquee matchups necessarily each and every week, which I did say you're going to be playing marquee games. So listen to this. Watch this schedule. Fresno State, Texas, Arkansas State, USC, Minnesota, Washington, Illinois, Michigan State, Oregon, Indiana, Northwestern, Ohio State. That's a pretty tough schedule. Is it not?
That doesn't have anything to do with this year, but okay.
I wasn't talking about this year. I'm talking about next year. That's my point. That you're going to have teams.
That has nothing to do with the Big Ten.
That does have something, because the Big Ten, Ohio State's schedule is going to look like this. Penn State's schedule is going to look like this. What do you mean? If you look at the SEC, I'll pull up Alabama's schedule.
No, you're better off pulling up Georgia's schedule.
Okay.
Alabama had a decent schedule. Georgia's schedule was a joke.
Let's see what Georgia's got next year. 2024. Here we go. Georgia, they open with Clemson, Tennessee Tech, Alabama week 3, at Texas, Florida, UMass, Georgia, Auburn, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ole Miss. Tennessee, Kentucky, and Ole Miss were ranked this year. Mississippi State is garbage. Auburn is always going to give them a hard time.
I don't know what you're trying
Georgia
to
Tech
say.
is what I'm saying is, because these conferences are stacked now, it's going to be much tougher for the teams, like the top teams. They're going to be playing marquee matchups.
These conferences
these are big time games.
Stacked now. They're not.
I don't know how you could sit there and say they're not.
My guy. They're going to have 20 teams.
How are they not?
They're going to have 20 teams of them. They're not all going to be good. South Carolina is not good. Vanderbilt is not good. Mississippi State is not good. Arkansas is not good. Auburn lost to freaking Sisters of the Poor before they played.
And guess what? Auburn lost to Georgia and Alabama by a combined score of 10 points this year. I mean, you don't like it, but it's the truth. I'm spitting facts right now.
Bro, that's fine. That doesn't prove your point.
So what you're saying is, then you're saying, well, they should schedule more out of conference big time games. Yes. Bullshit, because you don't have a system in place that's going to promote you for playing these out of conference games. And that's why these big teams.
You're making my point for me.
That's why these teams don't do it.
You're making my point for me.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm saying
because
that
this all
conference
started
teams.
No, listen.
Conference. It's going to be tougher for these teams now because they're getting better in their conferences. That's my point.
This all started because I said I put in Texas and Bama to encourage teams to schedule interesting and impactful games at the beginning of the season. And they're
not going to do it. Teams aren't going to do it.
You said don't talk about Michigan like that. Blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what you're arguing against. Michigan got in with the way that they scheduled. I'm telling everybody, I want the CFP to reward 2 teams who said, yeah, fuck it. It may affect us at the end of the year, but go win a football game. So I'm going to put Bama on my schedule as Texas, who is an up-and-comer, who doesn't have it figured out when they schedule this game 4 years ago. And they say, fuck it, I'm going to put Bama on my schedule anyway. And they did, and they won. And so they deserve to be rewarded for that. And Bama for allowing that to be on their schedule when they were the Michigan in this situation, and they didn't have to put this game on their schedule. And instead, they could have scheduled Bowling Green and East Carolina, but they said, no, we'll bring in Texas. Yes, I think both those teams deserve. That's how you encourage teams to do that. That's
Florida
how this whole thing started. And you got all pissy because I said Michigan's schedule was shit.
I'm just speaking the facts here. And in conferences are going to be tougher. SEC, Big Ten is going to be a tougher time. That's all I'm saying. So what I'm saying again, Michigan, Ohio State, those guys, they're not going to schedule tough out of conference games.
Michigan
Texas game
had 2 tough conference games this year. Adding 4 good teams means they probably have 3 tough conference games next year.
Washington will be good.
I still want to encourage teams to schedule tough games in the non-conference.
They're not going to do it. And that Texas game for Michigan next year was scheduled like 4 years ago.
I know. That's how all the scheduling works.
So lately they've been teams have been kind of finagling the year before. So I just don't think teams are going to be scheduling tough out of conference games. I mean, if you're Notre Dame, you have to because you don't belong to a conference, right? So Notre Dame's schedule is going to be tough every year. They're going to be playing, well, it should be, right? So I don't know, man. I think teams are going to be sticking with what they got in their conference.
I think a 12-team playoff encourages that as well. But I think if you're the committee and you want to encourage games that matter, that you have to put in teams when they do that. T-Rex says they don't want to schedule harder teams at the beginning of the year because they don't want it to affect their chances at conference championships. It wouldn't because they're non-conference games. Plus, how do you guys feel about key players opting out of playing in bowl games? We can hit that real quick before we switch to
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I like the idea if players want to sit out for bowl games because I think NIL will force. Well, not force, but it'll allow players to play in these bowl games because they're going to get compensated, right? A booster can come up and be like, yo, like, can you play in the Orange Bowl? We'll throw you a little bit more money. They're getting these insurance policies and so forth. So it was, a few years ago, why would you, like Marvin Harrison, right? For instance, like, should he play in the Ohio State bowl game? If I'm him, probably not, unless I'm going to get some more money.
I hate it. Now, were you asking me what I want or what the reality is, right?
Right. What we want is these guys to play in these games.
Right. And as a former athlete, that the number one thing that matters the most is that locker room and your teammates. And I hate these guys bailing out on their locker room or their teammate for money. I just hate it. I understand it. I know why they're doing it. I get it. But I hate them bailing out on their team for money. And honestly, if I was an NFL evaluator, it would be something that I took into account.
That's fair.
And until the NFL says we don't want to see guys doing this, then you know what I mean? Like, it'll take the NFL and coaches being like, I don't want guys who quit on their team like that. That's what it'll take for somebody to change what they're doing here.
The milkman says, "What's up, Rob?" He didn't give me no shout out. That's fine, milkman. I still love you, bro.
Yeah, well, he doesn't know that you came in speaking directly to him as we started the show earlier today. He's unaware, blissfully unaware, that you started the show speaking directly to him. But what's up, milkman? I know it has been a good week for you. Was surprised I didn't see you in the Georgia Bama stream last night, but I wasn't feeling great, so I cut it short. I didn't go that long. So Maybe you would have snuck in at the end. Who knows? All right. Bama winning the playoffs. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not so sure.
Bama's good, man.
I'm not so sure.
They're good. They're good.
David on YouTube says, "Sorry, I'm late, boys. That's unacceptable. We do not. You need to be 5 minutes early, and then you'd be on time. We don't stand for tardiness here." But luckily, you two hopping in. We've just been talking college football so far. We haven't even gotten to the NFL.
I don't even want to talk NFL today.
Those rankings come out in about 20 minutes. So no doubt we will break in and talk about what that means when they do come. But let's try to knock out some of these NFL games.
Let's go through them real quick.
Fly down the list here.
Apologize to the fans at home if you came in here expecting us to just go NFL talk. We're going to do that regardless all the time anyways.
We're going to talk NFL, okay?
But this is such a monumental week for college football, like something that we haven't seen before, right? Like
for you.
No, just for college football fans in general. Like, people are going to be really hurt today.
Yeah, there's no decision that the committee can make and say, like, well, that's the fair or the right decision. You know what I mean? So it's they're going to be
no benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
none.
There's going to be angry people and controversy and talk shows no matter what happens. So yeah, I mean, we will as soon as, and I'm sure Sterls, you've got that up somewhere to see the breaking news as I kind of drive.
I'll have it ready.
Yeah,
I'll have it ready.
I'll kind of drive the NFL, and you can let me know when you see the the rankings pop up. All right. Milkman says,
I'm not even going to – I saw what he put, and I'm not even going to address it.
In 2 SEC schools.
You know what? Let's make it all SEC teams.
Yeah, it's just two Big Ten teams, 2 SEC teams, and call it good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know all SEC, all 4. You know, throw Auburn in there since Georgia and Alabama could barely beat them too. So,
dude, T-Rex, Ohio State had a path to get in, I thought. And it closed with the way that things happened. But I thought Ohio State. I thought you had a shot, an outside chance at a rematch of the game for a national title game. I also was excited. I really wanted to see Michigan Washington in the Rose Bowl for a national semifinal, which would have happened if Georgia won. You would have had them as the 1, and then the 2-3 would have been Michigan and Washington. And I guarantee you, Rose Bowl is one of the semifinal sites this year. I guarantee you they would have put it in the Rose Bowl, and it would have been kind of a beautiful way to send out the Pac-12 with one more Rose Bowl game, a true Rose Bowl game for a national title.
Man, the pageantry, dude.
Yeah,
that is.
It would have been great.
You know, I love that stuff.
Yeah, it would have been great. Okay, Colts at Titans. Run through the 11 o'clock games here. Colts in a playoff spot, Sterls. They are one of 3 6-5 teams tied, and they are currently the one winning the tiebreaker and this is what I was talking about when I talked about the Jaguars all year long.
Yep, you're right.
And in the beginning of the year, I told you the crossover division is the NFC South. The teams like the Colts and the Jaguars, they get to play the AFC South, and the NFC South are going to win more games than you expect them to. Here we are. The Colts are 6-5 with Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterback. They take on the Titans with Will Levis, and it's basically a pick'em game, but I think that's wrong. Do you want me to jump in first here?
No, so looking at the spread here is 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1 point, right?
Yep.
So the Titans haven't shown me anything this year, right? You had Derrick Henry coming out this week saying that, the first matchup that, it was cringe for his 46 yards or something like that. I mean, I don't, at this point, that doesn't make me scared if I'm a Colts fan. So I think, what we know, if it's a 1 point spread, I always go with the better quarterback here. And that's Gardner Minshew, who actually has been playing fairly decent. So I think, now you got not Saquon Barkley, but Jonathan Taylor's out, and Zach Moss is going to be running the rock again, which he's having a phenomenal year in and of itself. So I think that the Colts win this game. they're the favorite, and I'm going to go with them. I'm not even going to use the home dogs because I feel like the Titans, they just don't do anything.
Yeah.
They're just gritty. That's it.
Yeah, and again, credit to their head coach. This is like Mike Tomlin last year driving that team to a above 500 record. I just don't think there's a lot there for the Titans. I also think that a couple of their vets like Hopkins and Henry are kind of like, all right, I should probably save my body for next year or the year after because there's just not a whole lot for me to play for this year.
Yeah.
If you're the Titans, I think you're better off sitting those guys. I mean, Derrick Henry is an asset for you, whether you trade him or you keep him in the fold. Like, he can only take so many hits. Stop handing him the football. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my thought there. I love the Colts in this game. -1 is the spread should be so much bigger than that, I think. But as we go through the year here, you start to get clarity on who these teams are. And I think we're finding out Anthony Richardson played pretty well at the beginning of the year. Didn't play great, but played okay. And I think we're finding out that maybe that Colts team is just a lot better than we thought they were going to be coming into the season. And that helps Anthony Richardson play well too. So I think the Colts are a little bit better of a team maybe than we all thought in the offseason.
And I like to throw out something real quick before we go. Shaq Leonard is supposed to be picking his team in the next today, I think, today or tomorrow. And he's looking at he's looking at the Cowboys and the Eagles are his two top destinations.
Ooh, baby boy. I really think, I think you were in this group chat that we talked about him. A lot of people are like, oh, his back, he's not the same player, blah, blah. I don't care if he's not the same player. He is still a real solid NFL linebacker, and he might not be the game changer that he was a few years ago, but I also don't think that it would be impossible for him to get back to that. Back injuries can be fickle, no doubt, but he's worth taking a shot on. You do not have to pay him
Michael Porter Jr., NBA.
Yeah. You do not have to pay him $18 million a year, right? That is the key thing to me here, and you have to take into account what you're paying the player versus what they're bringing you. And I think you can get him on a small deal that really makes sense, and he's going to turn some heads. All right, Chargers, West going East for an 11 o'clock start. I always point that out. I think it's important for you guys to know. Chargers -4.5 at the New England Patriots. God, I don't even know who's starting quarterback for the Patriots, but it better freaking be Bailey Zappi because you got to
Bailey Zappi is starting today.
Okay, good. You got to stop doing this to the kid. Like, Mac Jones has been awful, and yet he still started every game, and you brought in Zappi once there was already a disaster on your hands. He's not getting starter reps in practice. It's just not fair to Bailey Zappi. If you want to give this kid's NFL career a chance, then give him a chance. Let him get starter reps in practice. Let him come into the game knowing he's a starter. Let's see if he can command the huddle. Don't bring him in for the 2-minute drive to try to win the game at the end. I mean, it was just, fair. I thought, a really poor coaching job from a really good coach. I hate him, but I respect him. But I thought it was a really poor coaching job to continuously do that to Bailey Zappi. So glad he's actually starting this game. Patriots getting 4.5 at home. Do you have the balls to take the home dog here, Sturls?
Oh, no. Even though it's the Chargers and they'll Charger. But Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones, they need to be sent away to different teams because, I don't care who's the quarterback in for the Patriots. They're just going to look bad with the structure of that offense and no weapons. It's going to be really hard for a quarterback to be successful in that type of situation. Justin Herbert is still pretty good, right? So I'd like to go with the Chargers here. -4.5 is what the spread is right here on DraftKings. So give me the Chargers here.
I like the Chargers too. The Chargers win just enough games to be in the playoff conversation every year, but that means they win enough games. And this is one of the ones that I think that they can get. West going East is always tough, but I just think the Chargers have that much more talent than the Patriots. The cover might be tough here. The 4.5 makes me want to take the Patriots. So I will preface by saying that if you want the 4.5 points, I don't blame you, because I do think this is like a field goal game. But for some reason, my gut's telling me to take the Chargers. So I'll take the Chargers and lay the 4.5. All right. Lions, this was originally your best game of the morning slate. But they moved some things around, and we will get to that. Don't worry. But Lions head down to the Saints, and Lions got to get right, man. Lions got to get back on track. They have, for 2 weeks now, played like dog piss. Yep. They should not have beat the Bears 2 weeks ago, and they found a way to pull it out. Now, that's what good teams do, right? When you don't have your fastball, you still find a way to win the game. So credit where credit is due. A win is a win is a win. But they didn't pull it out against the Packers on Thanksgiving. And if you want to be one of the top teams in this conference, you were in a position to, in the second round of this playoffs, like maybe have San Francisco come to Detroit to try to get to an NFC Championship game. You cannot let that slip. And so if you want to be one of the good teams, you got to be playing these games at home. It's been the Bills' flaw for the past 5 years. I just think the Lions need to find a way to kick it back into gear and start looking like the team that we thought they were. I hate the Saints. Everybody knows I hate the Saints, but they have a good defense. You cannot slip here. This has to be a game that the Lions win and win convincingly.
Yeah. And I when we say the Lions, let's dig a little deeper here, because it's not, it's Jared Goff. Jared Goff was the reason they lost to the Green Bay Packers last week. I mean, he had a QBR of 15, okay? Even though he did not throw an interception in that game, he fumbled a few times. Like, he just looked awful. And that's the variance that you get with Jared Goff. So I expect him to bounce back this week against the Saints. When you look at Chicago, the Chargers game, and I think they played the Raiders. He had he had like 5 touchdowns in the span of those 3 games together. So he's a streaky quarterback. They lost last week, so I expect them to come out and he's going to play well today. Keep feed on Marseille Brown, and you're going to be fine. So just don't make any stupid mistakes, Jared Goff, and you guys will beat the Saints, who they're trash. The Saints are awful. I mean, they are such a disappointment this year.
Another team where like Derek Carr wins just enough games to be annoying. You know what I mean? And this is the kind of game that he wins, and they go to 6-6, and they're still in it for the NFC South title. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I definitely am worried about this. You can see with the way that the lines are juiced that the sharp money is on the Saints right now. People are taking that 4.5. And the books are trying to get you to bet the Lions. Road favorites are always tough, man. Those home dogs, especially if you're getting more than a field goal, I don't know. It's an interesting spot. I will go ahead and lay the points for the Lions on the road and assume that they get right here. You mentioned Jared Goff. I got to be honest with you. I don't think he's the reason that they struggled against Chicago. The team as a whole needs to play better. I don't think it's just on Jared Goff. So you made that point, and I kind of just wanted to say that. But I will take the Lions and believe that they get right here. All right. Falcons at Jets in a game that shockingly matters. Defies all odds. Falcons at Jets. Falcons in the lead for the NFC South right now at 5-6. The Falcons in the lead for the NFC South right now at 5-6. Head to New York to play the Jets, who just opened their practice window for Aaron Rodgers, their 21-day practice window. I mean, it's remarkable. I don't know that I believe it, but it's remarkable. Some fishy's going on. I don't know what it is.
Oh, man. Man, I think on this show, I know I have doubted the Falcons, and they suck, right? But Vegas has done a good job of getting you to, they just know just enough to get us to like make the wrong bet here. So I'm not going to make that mistake today because typically I would say, you know what, the Jets are going to get an upset win today, right? That defense is so good, but Desmond Ritter and his ugly mug, they're going to win. They're going to win this game today. And I don't know, you look at Zach Wilson's not playing, so who's their quarterback? What's his name?
Boyle.
Yeah, Jared Boyle. Was it Tim Boyle? God, he sounds like an accountant. He's awful.
He's been awful.
Zach Wilson should be playing.
He was awful in college too. Like how he's the guy.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
One of the worst college quarterbacks statistically in the history of college football. So I'm going to take the Falcons here, even though it pains me. The Jets can't score unless Breece Hall has an amazing day on the ground. I see nothing happening offensively for the Jets.
So, in my mind, first thing I want to do is say, do we want to give credit to Arthur Smith? He lost a bunch of one-score games last year, but that team, through the first part of the season, looked like they were at least in it. They lost a bunch of one-score games. They end up not being in a playoff spot. But he took lemons and made lemonade last year, I think. This year, he is 5-6. And again, I think making lemonade out of lemons because he does not have a quarterback. And here they are at 5-6 and on top of the NFC South, and with a winnable game today, could get to a 500 record and be leading that division. So I just want to throw it out there. I think a lot of times we don't give younger coaches the same kind of credit that we give to guys like Mike Tomlin. No doubt Mike Tomlin deserves it. No doubt Mike Vrabel deserves it. But I think Arthur Smith is doing a heck of a coaching job with a team that's missing some really key pieces here. So I just want to say that.
I think that's a great assessment.
That being said, I like the 2.5 points. All these games are weird. And I do think the Jets are just going to run the ball with Breece Hall. And I do think the Falcons are just going to run the ball with Bijan Robinson. And I think this game is going to be over in 2.5 hours. And I think the score is going to be something stupid like 17-16. So give me the 2.5 points for the Jets at home. In terms of the Aaron Rodgers thing, Milkman, he wasn't here. I don't know if he is anymore. I told him this earlier in the week. This is playing out exactly like I said it would. Is Aaron Rodgers going to come back earlier than we all thought? Man. Yeah. And the Jets are still going to be out of it by then. The Jets are 15th in the AFC right now. They need to crawl over 8 teams to get into a playoff spot. And if they lose today, they're out. I mean, there's no chance whatsoever. The only team that's worse than them in the AFC is the New England Patriots. So
you make a compelling argument for me to pick the Jets.
Oh,
but man,
I'm picking the Jets.
I'm taking the
2.5 points because this game's going to be stupid and it's going to be 13-14 or 16-17 or something like that.
Oh man, see, I want to take the Falcons here. I want to take the Falcons. It's tough. It's been like this. It's been like this, every week for the past 3 or 4 weeks. The morning slate has been god awful, and so.
Well, I mean, they tried to make moves to change that, and we will get to that game eventually here. But I know Sturls is keeping an eye on when these CFP rankings officially drop. So we will stop at any moment to talk about that. Our next game is Arizona at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is not a good fucking football team. God damn it. But they keep playing Arizona for some reason. And because of that, they've found their way to 7 wins already this year and likely to an 8th today. But I've said 100 times, and I'll say it again, I think the Cardinals are the best value that you can get in the NFL right now because they have a quarterback that can at least make plays, and that team, Shane Steichen at least had them playing hard. Does that wane towards the end of the year? Maybe. But 6.5 is a lot of points against a team that can't score. So I kind of like Arizona in the 6.5 here, but it is West going east for an 11 o'clock start, and that is always a red flag for bettors. Sterls, do you have a favorite here?
Man, I wanna. I don't have any confidence in the offense for the Steelers. Now they did get rid of Matt Canada.
Yes, thank God.
So they had over 400 yards total offense last week.
I know.
So
For the first time in what, like 40 games or something like that?
yeah. So I mean, if you're gonna, take the Steelers here, Mike Tomlin, this is one of those games, Mike Tomlin, he's gonna like the Steelers they don't really beat themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like if they're going to open the offense up a little bit more, Najee Harris was great last week. Like so I think if they rely on that running game, the Cardinals are, people have been betting against the Cardinals all year. But I think, things have kind of changed now that you have, their quarterback is back, Kyler Murray. So give me the Steelers here as I talk myself into it. West going east. But real quick, the AP poll just dropped. Okay. And now this is the precursor to the college football playoff rankings. And right now it's Michigan, Washington, Texas at number 3, Florida State at number 4. That's just the AP.
So that's not saying who's going to actually get in the playoffs. That's just the AP rankings.
It's just I think it's a slight indicator of you know what I'm saying? It could look like this, so don't be surprised.
I think Texas at 3 is right. I would be shocked. So just so everybody who's hopping in now knows, we talked a little CFP at the beginning of the show. We are going to break NFL here and talk a little bit about these rankings when they come out. I think the show's on ESPN, and they like to make a show of it, which means that it really the actual CFP rankings probably not for another 5 or 10 minutes. The way that they do it. So, but as soon as we see the CFP rankings, we will break in and talk a little bit about that. For the Cardinals and the Steelers, I will take the 6.5. You talked yourself into the Steelers minus 6.5. I will take the 6.5. And just because Kyler Murray will make a play or two, the Steelers will find a way to win the game, even though their offense is terrible. And I think you're within a touchdown when they do that.
Okay. So you're taking the Steelers?
No, I'm taking the Cardinals plus 6.5.
God,
I think the Steelers win, but I think the Cardinals cover.
All right, you know what? You changed my heart.
No. You said you were taking the Steelers. Don't be a little bitch. Don't waver.
It's hard, man. It's so hard betting. It's so hard with these two teams, man.
Oh, 100%.
Like everything in me wants the Steelers to lose to help the Bills, right? But it's like I can't. What kind of faith do I have in the Arizona Cardinals to win this game?
Not much.
Not much.
Not much.
Not much at all.
Not much. But here's the thing: the scores are going to be in the teens, right? So you need one play from Kyler Murray to flip the script. That's what I would tell you. If you want to believe
can you bank on that, right?
Can win this game, it's not like Kyler Murray's got to put up 30 points to win this game. You're going to need one play from him to win this game, and he can make one play. You know what I mean? All the jokes aside, he can make one play. So that would be what I would say to you.
Okay, so this is live right now. So I'm watching the college football playoff reveal show. It's coming up here in a minute. But guess who's on the panel for ESPN? Reese Davis, who I like.
Yeah.
Booger McFarland.
Oh, I hate him.
Joey Galloway, Kirk Herbstreit, and not Rory McIlroy. What the hell is
Greg McElroy?
Greg McElroy. Like
Alabama QB.
McElroy and Galloway get on my last nerves, and Booger McFarland's an idiot.
Booger McFarland is the worst football analyst I have ever heard in my entire life.
And he played the game, but he sounds so uneducated when he talks about it.
Oh, he's got no idea. And then he tells you that you don't know because, well, I played, blah, blah, blah. I hate that.
And Joey Galloway is extreme Ohio State homer. Extreme. I guarantee you, he's going to sit on this panel and tell you Ohio State should be in the playoff.
Galloway just doesn't offer me anything, to be honest with you. McElroy, I don't mind as much as you do. He's okay to me.
I love Herb Street. He gives it straight, no matter if it's Ohio State or anybody.
Yep.
Unbiased as much as he can.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, I always like that about Herbie. And as he has gotten older, he's gotten less, I want to say the right thing, and more understanding his station in the football world in general, but especially in college football, that his voice carries weight, and so he needs to call it like it is. So I appreciate Herbie a lot. He gets a little frustrated sometimes. It feels like he's
and that's fair. That's fair.
All right. Since they'll probably draw it out for 5 more minutes, let's talk Dolphins Commanders. Dolphins -9. And listen, I just have to say this about the Dolphins. I don't want to call this one a trap game, but they're feeling pretty good about their chances to win the AFC East right now. And they should.
Absolutely.
But I'm just going to caution everybody about what the end of their schedule looks like. Their next 3 games are at Washington versus Tennessee versus the Jets. If you are the Miami Dolphins and want to win the AFC East, need to get 3 wins there. You cannot let one of these games slip. That'll put you at 11.
That makes my heart drop, and I hate the Dolphins. But if I'm a Dolphins fan, I'm worried. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want Tua to get hurt. Run the football. Run the freaking football.
You want to get more worried? Here are their final 3 games. Versus Dallas, at Baltimore, versus Buffalo.
A hungry Buffalo team at that.
If you slip in one of these 3 games that you should win, Washington, Tennessee, and the Jets, you could find yourself spiraling into the playoffs. Now, I think this Dolphin team is better than that. I don't think that's going to happen to them. But they are fat and happy right now, and I cannot emphasize enough how much they cannot let one of these games slip. Washington, Tennessee, and the Jets. You win those 3, you're at 11 wins, and the best the Bills can do is tie you. That's the best the Bills can do if you put yourself in that situation. You cannot let one of these games slip. Then what happens is if you lose to Dallas, no big deal. That Baltimore game is probably for seeding in the AFC playoffs, and you can let the Bills game go if you want. The Bills might need it to make the playoff, but it won't matter for you, maybe for anything except for seeding in the top 4 of the AFC. So you can decide if you want to have that game matter for you or not. So I cannot emphasize enough. We're going to have a couple weeks here with the Dolphins where we're like, oh, Dolphins, big favorites. They should win, whatever. Nobody really cares.
Right.
You have to care. These games have to matter to you.
Rob, I love that you mentioned that. And keep in mind that they lost Jalen Phillips to an Achilles injury, right?
MetLife turf.
Yep. And you know what? Right now, the weather in Landover, Maryland is not good. Like, there's a ton of fog in there in the stadium right now. It could rain. So this is, and also the Commanders fired their coordinator last week, and they got a 29-year-old kid on the defensive staff that's calling the defense today, a young coach. So, man, it just sounds like one of those trap games for the Dolphins here. But if you're a Dolphins fan, look, man, just play your game. Don't try to do anything outside of yourself. Keep Tua upright and get out of there as quick as you can.
You just cannot have a Raiders effort here.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like that's plain and simple. And that was a game you almost gave away and you pulled it out. And like I said, that's what good teams do, right? The day they don't have their fastball, they find a way to get a win no matter what. You cannot have a Raider type effort here as the Dolphins. And I just want to emphasize that wholeheartedly. I will take the Dolphins. I don't think that they fall apart here. And I think your 26-year-old play caller is going to get dog walked by Mike McDaniel. So I will take the Dolphins and I'll lay the 9 points. I hate laying that much. I never do it. I almost always take the points in that situation.
Okay.
I'm going to lay the points here.
I'm going to take the Commanders with the +9 here. Sam Howell he's not considered one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but man, does he throw the ball around the yard. And
He's
so
leading the
in order
league
for them,
in passing right now in yards.
yeah, he is. And look, I think if you're a Dolphins fan, I think you should be concerned about that. I'm not saying that you're trembling in your boots, but I just think it's one with the fog. It just feels like a FU game, doesn't it? An NFL FU Dolphins game. I don't know, man. I'm gonna go with the Commanders here.
All right, he's taking the points. And then real quickly, this is our last 11 o'clock game before we get to the rankings here. Broncos at Texans. This game got moved to 11 o'clock because the 11 o'clock slate was dog shit. And so they move up the Texans and the Broncos, which who at the beginning of the year would have pointed to this as a game that you want to watch? These are the two 6-5 teams in the AFC who are tied for that final playoff spot, but not in it. And so CJ Stroud and the Texans welcome in Russell Wilson and the Broncos. And this is the biggest game for the Denver Broncos in half a decade.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point.
And maybe for the Texans too. Biggest game for the Texans in half a decade, maybe. So the winner of this in prime position to get a wild card spot. Who do you like here, Sturls?
I'm going to go with the Broncos. I just feel like that defense is just good, man. They've been playing so well lately. And Russell Wilson continually just does just enough to keep these guys in a position to win the game at the end, right? So, we all love CJ Stroud and what he's done this season. And the Texans have looked great. But I think this is like the Denver Broncos. This is their time. Like, I think they come out, they're focused, they're going to win the game. And they're the underdog. So give me the Dolphins. Not the Dolphins, the Broncos, sorry.
The full 3 points is what gets me. Because I kind of like the Texans in this game, but you're giving me a whole field goal for the Broncos here. I feel like that is too much. And not only are you giving me a full field goal, but it's even money. I'm liking the Broncos here in terms of betting. I just kind of think the Texans are going to find a way to win this game. But CJ Stroud, a lot of the games that he's won this year have been last-minute comebacks, driving down the field, getting that last-second field goal. I think that's the situation that you're in at the end of this game. So I like the Broncos in terms of betting, but the Texans, I think, might pull this one out at the end. Your eyes look very intent, and so I'm wondering if they are revealing the...
No, it's getting close, though. It's getting close.
I just want to say that it is 10:15 now, and this was my guess for the time that they would actually reveal it. But they love taking their time with these shows to make sure they get their viewership.
And they've panned to every team that has a potential chance to get in. They're all sitting at the tables and this luncheon, and it's just like, get on with it.
The
for
NCAA
the love of God.
selection show feel,
Oh my God. But I don't mind looking at Laura Rutledge, though.
Hey now. All right. Well, so since they're taking a break here, let's run our commercial, and we can do our commercial question, and then we'll hit it as soon as they get back to it. So we are going to take a quick little ad break. We'll be right back to talk about the CFP rankings right after this. If you are a subscriber, you will be able to chill with us and hear the commercial question moving forward here. All right, Stills.
All right.
So I've got a very simple commercial question for you today.
Okay. What you got?
We are in traveling season. Mm-hmm. You and I are big fellas. We are large human beings, and thus don't fit in the 1950s size seats that they put in airplanes still for Lord knows what reason. Yeah, I get it. We're fat Americans. I don't care.
Right.
Like, make seats the size of modern day people. It is not 1970 anymore. To that point, recline or no recline? Is it bad form to recline your seat on an airplane?
I try not to, even though it's so uncomfortable.
You feel like it's what, rude? Bad form?
Yeah. Yeah. And just because, and I feel like that because I'm a big guy. So it's like, person behind me, oh, the fat guy's got, taking all the space. So I just I try to take away any complaint that one would have. Right. And so I'll suffer in silence kind of thing.
I don't listen. If your seat is one of the ones that can't recline, get a different seat. The seats recline for a reason. Everybody can recline, and then everybody's got the same amount of room. So I say it's fine to recline. You're fine to recline. You're looking at me like I'm a bad person, Strolls.
No, I mean, in all fairness, you did buy the seat.
Right.
The seat reclines.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many people. Well, I take that back. I know I don't like flying as it is, but I do it. Right. So, you want as much comfort as that's afforded to you.
Okay. So David's on YouTube. He says, I never full recline, 10 to 15 degree max. That's all they go back. They don't go back more than 10 degrees. That's as far
Dave
as
might
go.
be in that first class life, so
yeah, that's true. That's true. The way he flies around, that's 100% true.
Yeah.
Bougie motherfucker.
Uh-huh.
All right. Did you have any commercial questions you wanted to bring us today?
I don't have one. My mind and attention right now is just on this stupid selection show. So I don't have anything.
Have they still not?
2 minutes and 20 seconds left before they get back to the show to really stall out some more. So there you go.
Oh my God. All right. Do you want to start working on this afternoon slate then?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Just so you guys know, the commercial question was airline seats. Is it okay to recline? Do you recline or not? David in the chat, talking about upgrades, flying first class, making us all feel stupid. All right, one of the dog games of the day, and we're going to have more of these as we go down the stretch here. The 1-10 Panthers, freshly off a fired head coach, getting 3 points, going to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay -3, still in it for the NFC South. Don't get it twisted here. Buccaneers still very much alive for a playoff spot. They are 1 game behind the lead in the NFC South. God, I am so done with Todd Bowles. I can't even tell you, dude. It's just a poorly coached team. Like, you can see it, you can feel it, you know it. It's just a poorly coached team.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because Bruce Arians is 10 steps away.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Give me Baker and the Bucks, -3.5 or whatever, on DraftKings is 3.5. So, listen, you got the Panthers who fired their head coach. They're in disarray. The players that are currently there, that maybe in a contract year or, they're not going to put it on the line today. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to preserve themselves, right? For an opportunity elsewhere. So give me the Bucks here. I think Baker is still decent, and they still got good wide receivers over there. So I'll take the Bucks to win here.
It's just one of these weird little things that I have in my head. I don't know how true it is, but I feel like it happens from time to time that there is a fired our head coach bump. And I think part of that is it wakes everybody up and says, listen, everybody's job is on the line. So you better go out and put forth your best effort. I think sometimes, I don't think it's true in this situation. I do think it was true in the Josh McDaniels situation, that it can make the locker room much happier. So give me Carolina and give me the 3 points.
Okay.
They're going to get wins. Somewhere, somehow, they're going to get wins. So give me Carolina, give me the 3 points. I think it's a whole lot to do with firing of Frank Reich and this team maybe waking up a little bit versus a bad Bucs team. Browns and Rams. Browns getting 3.5 points for going out to LA, and they got spanked last week. And I mean spanked. Like, this wasn't the actual score, but it was 30-10, Sterls. Now, the actual score was 29-12, but I say 30-10 because I think it paints a picture in your head of what an ass kicking that was.
Yeah.
And you were only 3 points away from it. This is a 7-4 team that got dog walked by the Broncos last week. And I don't know, it's kind of embarrassing. Milk is saying the rankings are in. Do you have them?
I'm watching the show, so I haven't seen them yet.
No.
ESPN is still,
dragging it out,
taking their sweet ass time.
All right. Well, so Browns headed to LA. Listen, Matt Stafford's back healthy. They are still in it for a playoff spot with the Vikings losing and the Seahawks losing. There are 2 playoff spots that are occupied currently by 6 and 6 teams. And so, hi, LA. Here you are at 5 and 6, absolutely in it for a wild card in the NFC.
Yeah. Joe Flacco is starting for the Browns today, just so you know.
Joe Flacco. Like, think about that, bro.
All right. So, here's number 1. Michigan is number 1.
Okay.
We're waiting on number 2 as they continually just talk and talk and talk. So, there's the first domino to fall.
Well, and so Michigan at number 1. I don't think that's any surprise. I kind of think Washington had a outside shot at number 1. But Michigan's been ranked up there all year, so it would have been hard for Washington to jump Michigan after beating Oregon.
Yeah.
And we know Washington's going to be 2. There's almost
Washington is number 2, just dropped in. Washington is number 2.
Mental health guy is asking for our 4. I said Texas, Bama, 3-4.
Yeah, I got Florida State. No, I'm just kidding. I kind of agree with you. I think Texas and Bama, I think those are the top 4 teams that I would put up there. Ohio State with outside shot. So
it's interesting that you're giving Ohio State an outside shot.
Dude, I think if you took out Michigan and put Ohio State, I think Ohio State's style of play is much better for the playoff, if you ask me, to be honest.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean they got the passing offense to hang with anybody, and their defense is really good, and they have the best running back in college football, in Trevion Henderson. So
let's be real.
That's just my
honest.
opinion.
What you really want is you want to put J.J. McCarthy on the Ohio State Buckeyes, and then you
Texas
then you have a hell.
Texas is number 3. They're in. Texas is in. Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome.
I thought that was one of the easier calls. Was Texas at 3.
That is awesome.
I really do.
Good for them, man. Good for them.
So that means it's Washington, Texas. Does it say? Do they have
game.
where?
What a freaking game!
Yeah, that should be fun. Do they have where that game's going to be?
I have it muted, so it's not telling me where they're going to play.
Okay.
And then I think Alabama's your 4th team. We'll see.
I think so too, but it'll be interesting to see who they put here. You can't put Georgia in and not put Bama in, right?
Right.
So that probably means Georgia's out.
Yeah, Georgia's done. They're not getting in.
Milk says Bama is 4. I don't know where he's getting this that he's ahead of you. But he had Texas right.
Yeah. I mean, he probably – yeah. I mean, Bama, Michigan, Bama. I don't know, dude. I think Bama beats Michigan. If I'm honest, Bama beats Michigan. So,
wow, is it
yeah.
official?
I haven't seen it yet. I don't know who the fourth team is, but I would, venture to say if you put Texas in, you got to put Bama in.
I think so.
It's coming up in about 5 seconds, and ESPN's Georgia's number 6. I'm like, what are they doing? Oh my God, I hate ESPN. They went 1, 2, 3.
They're going
then they
6,
did
5,
number
4.
6.
Yeah. 6,
Oh
5,
my
4.
God,
yeah.
dude, get a life. Get a freaking life. I was like, Michigan plays Georgia? No. Georgia's out. That's awesome.
I got to be honest, that would be worse for you, I think, than playing Bama.
Oh, yeah. Alabama is not – that's not a great matchup. Alabama's 4th.
Alabama's
So who's
4?
5th? Ohio State?
Yeah.
Alabama's 4.
Yeah. Maybe Oregon 5th. It's either Ohio State or Oregon.
Florida State is number 5.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oof. Wow. Okay.
FSU 5. So it goes Michigan, Washington, Texas, Bama, FSU, Georgia, and then probably Ohio State, Oregon would be my guess after that.
Yeah. So, okay, so Michigan, Alabama are in the Rose Bowl game, and then Washington, Texas are in the Sugar Bowl. So at least they put Michigan in the Rose Bowl game. But
yeah.
this is
– well, you were going to get one of the two teams in the –
2 SEC teams and 2 Big Ten teams.
That sucks for Washington because the Sugar Bowl is going to be 99% Texas fans. Bet your bottom dollar how much you want to bet that entire stadium is burnt orange.
Oh, dude, Texas for one. I don't care where Texas is playing; they're coming hard and heavy. Like their fans are fanatical.
Well,
Washington,
it's been so long too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Washington. I mean, I think it's great. I would have much rather seen Michigan, Washington, and Alabama, Texas rematch, but you might get that rematch in the championship game.
Could have it in the title game. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't think Michigan beats Bama.
First blush, I kind of still like Washington in that game. I really think the committee did the higher ranked team a disservice putting this game in the Sugar Bowl because it's going to be a Texas home game. But I kind of still like Washington there.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that? Real quick thoughts on that game. First impressions.
I think it's a great matchup. I think the corners for Texas are going to have a hard time with Rome Odunze and crew like that. And Michael Penix, man, he's so accurate.
He's a dude, man. He is absolutely a dude.
Washington's defense is where it gets a little hinky because their defense is not good. I feel like Texas on the offensive side of the ball, they have speed. They had really, really good speed on the outside with Xavier Worthy. I think it comes down to which quarterback plays the best. So if you ask me, I'm going to say Texas wins this game.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what the line is. I'm thinking I'm probably going to be able to get Washington plus points, and that's hot. I'm for that. I'm about that life. So yeah. And then Michigan, Alabama. Now we'll warn everybody that there is maize and blue colored glasses on the other side of this line here. But first blush on, and that doesn't always mean that he's going to pick Michigan. It could also mean that he's going to say, "Oh, we're terrible," blah blah blah. So first blush on Bama, Michigan.
I think Bama's going to be too much for Michigan to handle. I think Bama matches Michigan in the trenches, right? And then can you force Jalen Milroe into mistakes? That's what it's going to come down to. Now, he's going to run the ball, so you really haven't faced a quarterback like Jalen Milroe that's going to run the ball on you like he does. I think that's going to be hard for Michigan's defense to overcome. Alabama's secondary is not good, but Michigan doesn't throw the ball like that. So if you ask me who wins this game, I say Bama wins this game. I can't for the life of me say Michigan's going to win it, and that is unbiased. But from what I see from Michigan, I know what their flaws are, and I think Bama wins.
For me, I need clarity on Michigan's offensive line health. Because if you're rolling in there with 2 backup offensive linemen, them Bama boys going to eat. Those big boys they got in the middle are going to absolutely dominate. And so if Michigan doesn't have a healthy offensive line, I think Bama wins. That's remains to be seen. Their best offensive lineman was on crutches. They lost another 2 guys last night, and I don't know how serious those injuries are. So we'll see. My first blush is that I would probably be looking at Bama. Let's see. T-Rex says right now that Texas is -3.5 on FanDuel. I would love Washington and 3.5 points, but I got to be completely honest with you. The way that these betting lines work, the Texas people are going to be betting Texas like crazy. So that line probably grows over the next few weeks before we get to that game. So I'm looking for, to be honest with you, 4.5, 5 points, something like that. I'm sitting on Washington and waiting to see if I can get a little bit bigger of a line there in terms of betting. For the Bama Michigan game, have you seen a line for that yet?
No, I have not.
I'm imagining it's going to be Bama minus maybe like 2.5, something like that. Let's see if they've put it up on BetMGM. Nope, just Army Navy on there. So I'm imagining it's going to be Bama minus. Oh, Bama plus 2.5 says T-Rex, and he's using FanDuel.
Yeah, no, that's a trap.
Bama's
a better football team.
Bama getting points there is absolutely
Bama's dangerous.
enticing.
Bama's going to win the title.
And conversely, from where I said sit on Washington, if for me, I'm going to bet Washington. I'm going to sit on it because I think that line will go up. I would take the Bama 2.5 right now because I'm thinking I want to bet on Bama, and I bet that line goes down closer to a pick'em. So I would be if I'm betting, I'm taking Bama right now, and I'm sitting on Washington would be my advice. Milkman, of course. Thank you. Bama wins the title. Oh boy, Milk and Sterls. We didn't.
Yeah. Hey, look.
You two been going at it all year long, talking shit to each other, and look what we found here.
But look, Milkman was about Ohio State, so now he's about Bama.
No,
right?
He's been a Bama fan the whole time. He's just a troll.
But he's been talking mad shit about Ohio State.
Just talking shit, yeah.
So, no, I think, listen, Bama's a better football team. And I'm not saying that like, oh, no, nobody thinks Michigan win. Bama's a better football team. Jalen Milroe's dangerous, dude. I'm telling you, man. That dude's improved so much over the season. Michigan's got a really good defense. But I think the only way Michigan has a shot to win this game, they're going to have to open up that offense and throw the ball down the field. And if they just sit there and try to run the ball and try to play this, the way Michigan plays is not going to work. It's not going to work.
Here, if I'm making a case for Michigan, here's my case. Milroe pissed down his leg in the first quarter. You have to try to make him feel the weight of the CFP playoff game. And I think you do that with a lot of pressure like they did last night to Iowa. Sanders still off the edge. Exotic blitzes. that kind of stuff to confuse Milroe. And you got to trust your big guys up front to not let him get out and run the football. They have to contain the quarterback run game.
So what I'll give you is this. Jesse Minter comes from the Baltimore Ravens school of defense. Exotic blitzes, confusing coverages. Like you talked to Marvin Harrison after the game, he said, I'd never seen what Michigan threw at us in the back end. Like you're going to play an NFL type of defense. Is Jalen Milroe ready to take the test? That's what it comes down to. And if he's not, Michigan's got a shot.
There's an interesting conversation going on in our chat right now. Milroe, to me, is the worst quarterback in the playoff.
He is.
Quinn Ewers, better. J.J. McCarthy, better. And I don't think there's any question that Penix is better. So normally when we look at these things, we say, who's got the better quarterback? And it makes for a really easy answer. What am I smoking? Who's Milroe better than? Milkman?
That's a great question. Who is he better than?
Yeah.
He ain't better than none of the other three quarterbacks.
Not those guys. So normally you look at it and you say, who's got the best quarterback, and we'll go from there. Now, if you want to talk about who the best coach is.
Saban.
Right.
Runaway.
Right.
Not even close.
Right. And he makes up for that deficiency at quarterback to the point where we're saying we think Bama has a better team.
And a month to prepare? Oh.
Yeah.
Nick Saban. Oh, he's the best coach. He's the best coach of all time in college football.
And, I think Harbaugh's a good coach, and I like DeBoer in Washington. I'm not a big Steve Sarkisian fan. But so
and that logic that he's saying is why Michigan will come out and whoop their ass. Like that's the kind of stuff like dude, that's the dumbest. You're right, but that's not, don't bring that to the table for an argument. That's not the argument that you want to have.
Washington hasn't played anyone to be the best. That's not true. I mean,
Oregon
is a great
team.
Me?
The Pac-12 was loaded this year.
Pac-12 was great this year. Oregon State, USC. I mean, there was a ton of good teams.
Yeah.
And then Michigan QB has lost the playoff. Oh, let me read it exactly right. Michigan QB has lost in the playoffs in the first round for like back-to-back years. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, let me answer that. K. McNamara was a quarterback against Georgia, and if it wasn't for two J.J. McCarthy pick sixes against the Horned Frogs, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But yes, they did lose. But if you're sitting here telling me that Jalen Milroe is better than J.J. McCarthy, I'm sorry, that's not the case. It's not the case at all. Like I like coming into conversations where I'm gonna be like completely honest, give you analysts for both sides, not homerism. I never do that. Like I'm not gonna sit here and do that. So I gave Alabama their flowers. But does Michigan have a shot? Absolutely. Does Washington have a shot? They could win that game because I'm not really fond of Sarkisian's game planning. Like you want to talk about choke artist?
Yeah, I'm not a Sark fan.
He's one of the biggest choke artists out there as a coach. So, you better look. I understand, Milkman. You're excited, but dude, you better just go in there humbly because Michigan's not to be played.
He doesn't even
it's
know
not
that
like
word. He you don't even know that word. It's too big of a word. Too big of a word for that Alabama boy there. All right. Damn. Okay. Well, that's going to be fun. I'm going to have to drag you out of the doldrums for that to do a little stream before that. We'll have to do a college football stream somewhere in there. But we'll plan that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And no, I don't think that Michigan would have beat Georgia. No one was beating Georgia last year.
I agree with that.
The best shot you had was Ohio State. because they have the offense to go toe to toe. CJ Stroud's a generational quarterback, and they could go toe to toe with anybody. So no, Michigan would not have. They didn't even beat TCU, so they wouldn't have beat Georgia. They were lost by 2 touchdowns.
So much fun. All right. CFP has been laid out, and no doubt we will talk a ton about it over the next month before we get the actual games played. But maybe we'll set up a college football playoff show with me and Sturls and talk a little bit about it then. All right.
For sure.
So Browns and Rams, we kind of got through the analysis of this game, but didn't make a pick. I'll take the Rams minus 3.5. I just think Joe Flacco's 100 years old. And he is going to start this game. I think the Rams find a way to win it and are annoyingly in the playoff race looking at a wild card.
The Rams. Yeah, I think give me the Rams in that one as well. Joe Flacco, no. Sorry. Can't do it.
Mental health guy, almost been live for 2 hours and there hasn't been any Bill or Josh Allen slander. You can slander the Bills, but don't you put this man's name in your mouth. Don't do it.
Yeah. There ain't nothing to say. Josh is that guy.
Did you watch the tape of him in that game? You got to be fucking kidding me. He was. I watched it a couple different times. But I saw JT O'Sullivan break it down. Former NFL backup QB, but
I haven't seen that. The quarterback room?
Yeah, quarterback school, I think it is.
Yeah.
Man, he did an analysis of it that was fantastic, and he was just drooling over the plays that Josh Allen made. So you want to slander the Bills, do it all you want, but you keep Josh Allen's name out your mouth, or we're going to come up there with Will Smith.
Yeah, in the Herbert's better. Jalen Hurts is better because he's not. Sorry.
This is the argument I had to make at the beginning of the week, Sturls, and I literally went and got all the stats and put them in front of everybody. He is having an MVP type season, so. Okay, game of the day, Niners and Eagles.
I cannot wait for that game.
It's going to be great. The trench warfare here is just going to be top tier. Absolutely top tier. I am most excited to see the Eagles offensive line versus the Niners defensive line, but the other way is going to be good too. Niners offensive line versus Eagles defensive line is going to be absolutely massive as well. Both teams have really good weapons on the outside. Both teams have really good running backs. I think DeAndre Swift doesn't get enough credit for how good of a running back he is. But both teams have really good running backs. I think what separates the Niners from the Eagles, in my opinion, is the defensive backfield.
Yeah.
I think Hufanga is a phenomenal safety. And
he's good.
A phenomenal safety. And I think they've got linebackers that far outpace the Eagles linebackers in terms of talent. So I really like the Niners here in terms of the situation. They are kind of backs against the wall, and the Eagles are kind of fat and happy right now. With a game against the Dallas Cowboys next week. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out for this one. They kind of sleptwalked through the first half versus the Bills last week. And honestly, and this isn't just because I'm a Bills fan, Eagles should have lost that game. But again, credit to a good team who doesn't have their fastball and finds a way to win. But getting 3 points at home, I like the Niners in this game. I'm betting the Eagles.
Yeah, I feel like the Eagles are due. I said this last week. The Eagles are due for one. They're gonna drop a game here soon. And give me this week. Give me the 49ers here. I think the 49ers, not that the Eagles don't have anything to prove, but I think it's more so for the San Francisco 49ers, just because the Eagles have dog walked you the last time you played, right? In the playoffs without your quarterback. I think there's going to be some extra motivation, if you will. I know that doesn't make sense in football world because all these teams are motivated, but Brock Purdy has been having a phenomenal season. And I think the 49ers are just they're getting healthier. Christian McCaffrey is going to have a good game. He's going to have a big game today.
The Niners have to win this game if they want to look at hosting an NFC title game, a divisional round playoff game, wherever the next time these guys meet. It is an important game for the Niners, less so for the Eagles, but I'll warn you, if the Eagles lose this game, they are 10-2, and then they play Dallas next week. You could look at falling all the way to the 5 seed for the team that has been the best record in the NFL for most of the season. You could look at falling all the way to the 5 seed if you don't get buttoned up here. So an interesting couple of weeks for the Eagles here. You could go from the best record in the NFL to 10-3 and not even hosting a playoff game. So it'll be interesting. I'll take the Eagles in the points, though. Okay, real quick thoughts on the Sunday night game here. Chiefs at Packers. It's in Lambeau, frozen tundra, all that stuff that you want. Do you believe in Jordan Love enough to take the 5.5 points here?
No, we shouldn't even be talking about this. The Chiefs are going to get him. Ain't nothing to talk about.
I mean, there's plenty to talk about.
Not really.
Okay, so you're laying the 5.5?
Yeah, I am.
On a cold night in Lambeau?
Yep.
You gonna give us any reason for it, or just?
Nope. I mean, come on, man. Like, the Chiefs have had their struggles this year, and they came out. They played a good game against the Raiders last week. They got something going offensively, but Jordan Love hasn't shown us. He hasn't shown us that he can be consistent enough, right? Like, he had a good game against the Lions. I give him that, but I don't know if he can. That's been the thing. Like, it's not. He shows flashes and then it's back to inconsistent, making poor decisions. You know, they don't have a running game really. So
that's not true. That's not true. They do. They just don't use it. They do.
That means they don't
use it.
They don't. Right? Like, they don't. So
AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones are a great set of backs, and if Matt LaFleur really leaned into it, they would have a good run game.
But they don't. They just don't.
Here's the thing. All the ancillary stuff for this game points to the Packers. They're on a 10-day break. It is a primetime game in Lambeau Field. Everything here, to me, points to take the 5.5.
You make it sound like Aaron Rodgers is still their quarterback.
Everything here points to take the Packers plus 5.5.
No.
I'm not going to do it, though.
I'll
take the Chiefs. Minus 5.5 points. Dude, all the ancillary stuff I do think matters. Like having 10 days off to game plan for an offense that has been struggling. Like, I think that matters. I really do. But
it does matter, but I just think in context, I think
Patrick Mahomes.
They could be prepared all they want, but I don't think they're going to execute.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is going to Patrick Mahomes, I think so.
Yep.
And then a game that was really, honestly, it was supposed to be a lot of fun. I'm super bummed about this game for Monday Night Football. Would love Joe Burrow in this game. It would be so much fun. Bengals getting 10 points at the Jaguars on Monday Night Football. You know my rule. I'll take the 10 points, and I'll tell you it's because that Bengals defense is still really, really good. But the Jaguars, I think, pull this out. I don't think they're going to be tested too much because I just don't think the Bengals are going to be able to score. But I think they'll keep it within 10. You got thoughts on this game, Strolls?
Yeah, I agree. The Bengals with Jake Browning, offensively, they just aren't there yet. but their defense is good. The defense is really good. So Jacksonville's been firing on all cylinders lately. They really have looked apart. But 10 points, I'll take the 10 points.
That's interesting. I'm surprised you're taking the 10 points. I feel like I've turned you on to my rule a little bit here, Sturls.
It's a Monday night game. Jacksonville's in prime time. Like, they don't really get that spot very much, you know. I do like the progress I've seen from Calvin Ridley and Trevor Lawrence. I do like that, but
I think there's a lot more there, to be honest with you. I know what you're saying, and that not that they've reached their pinnacle or anything like that, but I feel like that is a dynamic duo that we could have going.
Should
forward.
Be better.
Yeah.
Should be better.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, they'll find some time with each other here. You know what I mean? It'll get better as time goes on.
Yep.
All right, that's your NFL pregame show where we spent most of the time talking about the college football playoff. It was a ton of fun, and we will absolutely put together something for the college football playoff. Maybe we'll do a pregame show. That'll be, what, a Saturday? Is New Year's? No, New Year's Day is a Sunday. Are those games going to be on a Sunday? There's no way they put those up against the NFL.
I don't know.
That'll be interesting. All right. Well, the dates are out somewhere. We will figure it out. We'll do some kind of college football show. Because Sturls wants to spend as little time with me as possible, but I will drag him in kicking and screaming to talk some college ball. And as always, you can feel free to hit us up on X or Instagram and make fun of us for all our bets, which we just told you about. Appreciate y'all being in. Appreciate you guys being in the chat and talking with us. And also, like, subscribe, follow. Go find my guy Sturls on social media. Go find me on social media. We love having this little community where we talk shit and talk ball. So appreciate y'all for being in. Sturls, anything before we go?
Go blue, baby. Go blue.
Bringing the heat. Yeah, that's it.